Sure. I'm calling to order the City of Hayden regular City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 11th. It is approximately 5:12 p.m. May we get a call to order, please?
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yep.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
And Council President Roeder is absent. We do have a quorum.
Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Okay, I'm hearing none. We'll roll into the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are action items, which consist of approval of May 29th, 2024 City Council special meeting minutes, approval of May 14th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, approval of May 31st, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, approval of Lembeck Appraisal and Consulting Incorporated appraisal review agreement for Ramsey Honeysuckle Roundabout, approval of 2024 Hayden Days Entertainment Agreement with Kelly Hughes, approval of 2024 Hayden Triathlon Event Permit Application, Support Agreement, and Loudspeaker Use Request, approval of Contractual Services Agreement with TOC NW Productions for a Youth Performing Arts Workshop, approval of Contractual Services Agreement with Shakespeare Coeur d'Alene for a Youth Performing Arts Camp, ratification of the May payroll, ratification of bills paid 5/29/2024, and approval of bills for payment. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just have one comment on the 1B, the May 14th minutes on item 4, the motion. It says Councilmember White motioned to approve, deny, and we need to pick one.
I agree, we need to pick one, that's true. Is that an administrative, something we can?
I think it's a typo.
we
Yeah, I
can-
think
yeah.
you can acknowledge the typo of what it's supposed to say.
It should have been approved, the Zancor zone map amendment.
Okay, so we will fix that in arrears, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as read?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as read.
Very well, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Can you get a roll call, please?
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yep.
And Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move on to our visitor public comment. We have one. Computer's working, sorry. Okay, before we hear from Ray Drexler, he's our only one tonight, yes? Just as a reminder to the citizens that this is a city council meeting, transparently documenting city business. Although not a meeting with the public, we do provide citizens with an opportunity to address this body if they fill out a card located at the back of the room by the door. Public comments are welcome, but they cannot include upcoming issues for which our city council will reasonably hold a hearing. This especially includes issues related to anticipated land use decisions. As we are here to positively build our city, I ask everyone to please refrain from using the podium for spectacle. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will state their name and primary residential city prior to addressing council. I encourage everyone to more meaningfully engage the city through a personal appointment with staff or myself if there is a problem to solve. I will visibly indicate when a speaker needs to conclude their comments. With that, Ray, you're welcome to take the podium.
My name is Ray Drexler. I'm a resident of Hayden. And I just wanted to express my anger related to the reply I received today from city staff. And it's in reference of our HOA trying to reduce traffic on Rocking R. And one of the main, main concern is that our street is going to be extended all the way up to Lancaster, and no traffic calming devices are being even considered at this point. And the response I received today didn't even address the sign, the stop sign that was previously removed under Mayor Griffith's reign. And, you know, I was asking for that to be reinstalled, and it was not even addressed in the response I received from the city today. I want everyone here, council and city staff, to know that I will not drop this issue, and I will continue this issue, and I will make it extremely public, inform the public of what we're trying to establish, and the lack of city staff to support this issue. I cannot see our road being extended all the way to Lancaster and no traffic calming device being implemented, and having our road being in extremely unsafe condition. It's very disappointing, and I just wanted to be heard in this meeting, knowing that, you know, we're being televised and it will be on record. Right now, we have an extremely unsafe condition, and it's very disappointing that right now I have zero support.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, our next item is an action item. We're going to have a public hearing. Well, if my computer will load, we will. There we go.
And before we start, Mr. Mayor, for the record, on this particular item, I am the counsel of record for the city of Hayden. I am also the attorney of record for Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. So in regards to these documents, we've used the previous documents that the city had. I've not been really representing either party moving forward on this. If there's a dispute, I would need to conflict out, and separate legal counsel would be hired for either entity, not just the city of Hayden. So I just need to make that public record.
Okay. For the audience, the staff is going to present, and then we're going to open the hearing up to public comment that if received will be directed to council, please. We'll close the public hearing, council will deliberate, and then make a decision. So that's our process. Donna?
So this is a request to amend Title IX, Chapter 3. And that title is known as the Fire and EMS Districts Development Impact Fees. So that's the chapter of the title that we're looking at amending. So just as a little bit of background, in January of 2022, Ann Westcott from Galena Consulting presented to the City Council, Hayden City Council, on behalf of the Northern Lakes Fire Protection District and the Kootenai County Emergency Medical Services Systems. I always get those S's backwards, but their completed development impact fee study and capital improvement plan. The methodology that they used and how they calculated those impact fees resulted in impact fees that were collected on a dwelling unit for residential, and a per dwelling unit for residential, and based on square footages for non-residential. Following that presentation by Ann, the City Council approved the Title IX and added a Chapter 3 to Title IX to implement the request of these districts for the city to collect these fees at the time of building permit. So we collect those with every building permit on behalf of both the fire department and Kootenai County Emergency Medical Systems. So if you look at the fire districts and how they kind of lay out, most all of the city is covered by the Northern Lakes Fire Protection District. The only two areas that kind of are not covered are the area directly south of Prairie Avenue and between Aqua and Prairie and Government Way and Highway 95. This section, currently inside the city limits, is not in Northern Lakes Fire Protection District, but is in Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. And there are lots in that area of the city yet to be developed. So if they were to develop today, although they're in Kootenai County Fire, we don't have an agreement with Kootenai County Fire to collect the impact fees on their behalf. And this amendment to the code would allow us to do that at the time of building permit, as proposed. Additionally, if the city were to ever annex property to the west of Hutter Road, then west of Hutter Road is also in Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. So just kind of showing you where that fits. So the request is to take the development impact fee study and capital improvement plan done for Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, also done by Ann Westcott of Galena Consulting, using similar methodology as what was already done with Northern Lakes Fire and Kootenai County EMS, and amend our Title IX, Chapter 3, adding that in as the other fire district for the city of Hayden. And their fees, as proposed, can be found on that draft amended ordinance on pages 10 and 11. So their residential per dwelling unit fee is $1,207, and the non-residential per square footage is 60 cents. And I have the red line version of that kind of available. This was on the website, and it really just does show how we are amending this title to include the Kootenai County Fire and Rescue District. Pretty much everywhere you see Northern Lakes Fire Protection District, we're adding that in. Those are the red line changes. I apologize for the first draft that went out. Every time I changed it to a PDF, it wiped out the red lines. So it took a little bit of finessing to get those back in so that you can see the differences. But as you can see, most of the code doesn't change, just adding in those references to Kootenai County Fire. And then as you continue on through, it references the exhibit as their capital improvement plan. So the exhibits reference each of the CIPs for each of those districts. And then it also references an intergovernmental agreement that the city would enter into with Kootenai County Fire. We have intergovernmental agreements with both Northern Lakes Fire Protection District and Kootenai County EMSS today. And this is where those fees are. So Northern Lakes Fire Protection is at $13.02 per residential unit, and non-residential is at 65 cents a square foot. We would add in the Kootenai County Fire at $12.07 for residential, and their non-residential at 60 cents. And then Kootenai County Emergency Medical Services Systems is $132 per residential unit and 7 cents per square foot. Just kind of quickly going through those changes just so that the public can see those as well. So they're pretty innocuous. It's just the exact same information. I was trying to scroll through to the intergovernmental agreement. So again, just everywhere you see Northern Lakes Fire, we just add that Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. Same thing there. Changing the dates to June, when this would come forward at the next meeting. The ordinance would come forward at the next meeting. And then the exhibits would be added onto the ordinance as well. In the black line version, it has the exhibits attached. But and so then the possible motions of the city council would be to either approve it, continue this to another meeting, or deny it. And then should you approve the request, give direction to the staff and to the mayor. We also have Chief Dan Ryan from Kootenai County Fire and Rescue in the audience if you have questions specific to their impact fee.
Any questions for Don?
Yeah, real quick, please, thank you. The current pocket doesn't have any residential in it, and that all commercial of some type or another? So we're only
Correct.
looking at the 60 cent.
There's a fourplex in the middle of that, or triplex or
A
fourplex in the middle
residential
of there.
fourplex? Really? That's an odd, but whatever, not surprising. Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Sandy?
Yes, I was going to ask, does this have any fiscal impact on the city of Hayden?
Good question. In the fee schedule today, we have a $20 administrative fee that we charge every building permit that's issued that addresses the cost of city staff's collection at the time of building permit and finances of fees to do the transfer of funds to and through the city.
Okay, and what kind of workload does this add to the staff here?
It's pretty low because it's a one-time transfer at the end of the month for finance, and it is just an additional fee that's added in at the time of building permit. And their square footages calculations are based on the city's square footages, so they're consistent.
Okay, thank you.
Don, looks like no more questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And for the record, do we have any public comments or public requests to comment on this? We have none. Thank you. So we'll not have a public hearing. Council, we can now move to deliberations, and as Donna, was
You have to
that?
close the public
You
hearing.
don't say we won't have one, you just say we'll close the public hearing with no public comment. Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As advised. So now we'll move to council deliberations. Do you want to leave the slide up with the last slide up? Okay, so city council, I assume you want to choose to deliberate? Ed?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'm sure there, if any, there'll be discussion, but I move to approve the Hayden City Code Amendment to Title IX, Chapter 3 as requested, based upon the testimony received at the City Council public hearing and the record of the request.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, maybe we get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember White?
Yes,
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to new business.
Do they need to motion the last part to direct staff to do the rest of the stuff?
Yes, can you please also make the second motion to,
Staff recommended conditions, that one?
No, the one, should the city council approve the request?
to sign?
Can you
and
make it
make it a
I'm
little
working on
bigger?
that right
Yeah.
now. There you
Sure,
go.
okay,
Sorry
thank
about
you.
that.
To sign and enter into the intergovernmental agreement with Kootenai County.
The bottom part
Yeah,
there.
yes.
Okay, I would move, that should the city council approve the request, staff request the following approval, motion, that one?
Yes.
Motion to direct the following, the mayor to sign and enter into the intergovernmental agreement with Kootenai County Fire and Rescue District, and the staff to draft the ordinance to make amendments to Title IX, Chapter 3, and the staff to draft resolution to amend the adopted fee schedule to add Kootenai County Fire and Rescue impact fees.
We have a motion, is there a second?
second?
There's a second, and we get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
And Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Okay, now we're through our public hearing. On to new business. First one is action item 4A, a request for special exception pursuant to Hayden City Code 11-3-4C located at 167 East Dakota Avenue. This is not a hearing.
That's you.
Mr. Mayor, do you want staff to start?
I apologize, I assumed that was
I was just-
automatic.
No, no.
Thank you
I
for
was
being polite. Please start.
So tonight, we're here to look at a request for a special exception pursuant to Hayden City Code 1134C. We have Michael Wendland in the audience to be able to answer questions specific. He is the owner with the request. So just to give a little bit of background and context to the property is located at 167 East Dakota Avenue. And in 1979, when the structure was built, both 131 and 167 were owned by the same person. So it was built as a detached garage accessory to the principal use of the house at 131. And then over the course of time, in 2018, the house went to one owner and the detached garage went to another owner. And so when Mr. Wendland came in and met with staff at a pre-development meeting, he asked if he could convert the garage to a single-family residence, and he can, meeting all building codes and design code requirements. So in the site plan code, which is in Title 11, Chapter 4, Section 7, it lists all of things you need to have in a site plan and that you have to do with a site. And in Section C, it identifies when required frontage improvements are required. So whether we call this a new construction of a principal structure because it's not a detached garage, it's now becoming a house, or we call it a change of use from a garage to a house, it requires, by our design standards, it requires that the construction of the frontage improvements be completed and that the right-of-way dedication and the granting of the utility easement occur in accordance with our typical sections. So required improvements in front of this property could include paving, curbs, swales. Green belts are not on this particular street, but that's just part of the standard. Sidewalks and other items per the typical section shown in the adopted city standards. Now, as we identified previously, this garage is a detached accessory structure all by itself on a lot, which makes it non-conforming because it doesn't have a principal structure today. And so as I'm cruising through the code, looking at non-conforming uses, I come across this code section. It's kind of how it happened. And so this code section says that if no structural alterations are made, any non-conforming use of a structure, use of land or structure and premise may, as a special exception, be changed to another non-conforming use, provided that the council, either by general rule or by making findings in the specific case, shall find that the proposed use is equally appropriate or more appropriate to the zone or district than the existing non-conforming use. And then when permitting such change, the council may require appropriate conditions and safeguards in accordance with the provisions of this title. So the request by the owner is not to build the frontage improvements. And by not building the frontage improvements, if you were to not build them, then it's not conforming to the design standards that we have today. So essentially it would be taking a currently non-conforming use and making it more conforming, but not conforming to the code that we have today. And I'm gonna kind of point to Wanda. So I have some definitions up here that was in your executive summary in case we need to refer back to them. It just talks about accessory structures definition. That's what the detached garage is. Talks about principal uses. That's being the main use of the land or the buildings. The zoning is zoned single family residential, and therefore the principal occupied structure would be the single family residence. And then a non-conforming use is something that was built according to code at that time, and then for some unknown reason or for a variety of reasons, is now not conforming because of some change that occurred. And so in your packet of information, you've received the written decision of the staff based on the proposal and his request. And you received email correspondence back and forth with us and his representative. And in that, he identified two things. The first thing that he identified was that no structural alterations were proposed, so he's going to do that conversion, but he's not going to change the structure of the garage. He may add some to the front, like a dormer over the, to make it look more like a house than a garage. You may add that, but the structure itself isn't going to change. So he meets that condition. And what was also identified in that email string back and forth is that he was willing to do the dedication of the right-of-way and granting of the utility easement. So again, this is specifically about not building the frontage improvements. So I would turn it over to Mr. Wendland if you have specific questions of him, or it's up to you. It's a public meeting, not a public hearing.
I have a question. I don't know which one it would be to, but no structural changes and the like. But can you go back to the picture of the property overhead? Okay. 167, is that going to be the single-family residence, and that other structure is probably what, a garage or something? Okay, and so that current structure was constructed as basically a garage. Either one, whoever can. So
Yes.
okay, as far as the building code of homes, sidings, insulation, things like that, does the garage currently meet building codes for what would be a single-family home if it were constructed under the building
As far as the
codes?
structure itself goes, the structure itself has to have very little done to the structure as far as structural changes go, but he will have to make other alterations to it to make it a habitable structure and meet in IRC code.
So as far as the the framing and all that other structural stuff, it meets current code. If it were to be built as a house, it would meet the current code, building code.
I'm gonna defer.
So it's been my experience, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that when you're converting a structure or change of use, that if something is already in place, like a footing requirement, we're not gonna be able to go back and tell you if the rebar has been put in there correctly, but we accept to a certain degree that the changes or alterations made need to come into code compliance, but we don't necessarily go back and prove out at the time of construction if it was done correctly. So there is some level of acceptance as an existing structure that we have to take, because we can't do certain things.
But whether or not he's capable of converting it under the building code is irrelevant in
Right.
relationship to today's decision.
Right.
Because it's a request for a change of use that in the code then triggers frontage improvements, which he's asking you to waive.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question. I see like 3 different roofs there. What are the 3 different structures that are on there?
Can I? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Mayor. To answer the question, right where the numbers are, 167, that's the structure we're talking about. The garage is to the left. This picture, I think it's Casey Earth, was taken years ago. The property was full of garbage. Homeless people living there, druggies there, cars everywhere. I think it was a manufactured trailer of some type. All that's been removed since. So, going to answer your question, and we did have BC Engineering do official engineering. We already have engineering plans into the city, and as they said, it would have to come up to code for any interior renovation that would be done to the property. But all engineering has been done through BC stamped and is in your building department right now.
Okay, thank you. Tom, you have any questions?
The next slide in your presentation, Donna. When I look under right-of-way dedications and grant of utility easement, the bottom 2 rows, what does yes 5 and no 4 mean?
5 and 4 are notes that are in that particular code
okay,
section
great,
that
great.
don't really apply to this
Right.
location.
All right, and prior, or after these this property was divided up into 2 separate properties, until this point, what has that structure been used for?
When I purchased the property, it was, I believe, and this is, don't quote me, somebody was running a business there one time. Homeless people were squatting there. It was full of garbage and probably drug, I don't know. It was disgusting. We absolutely cleaned up all the garbage, removed all the junk vehicles, got all the nasty stuff out of there. So I don't, prior to me, I can just say it was a junkyard.
Okay. And my other question is, so right now you have electrical going to the structure, all the requisite plumbing for wastewater and
So when they actually built this building, they stubbed sewer, water, and everything in the building. So one of the things we talked about through this process was, and the sewer hookup fee's already been paid, and there's a stub on the property per your guys' engineering plans. It almost looked like it was designed to be a residential property at one time. So.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any more questions?
I just had one kind of technical question. So how is this, Donna, how is this different from the property we looked at a few weeks ago, Government and Lacey? Like, we're allowing the swales and things. Is this a different situation?
It's a completely different request.
Okay,
One was a request to not dedicate right-of-way. He's agreed to dedicate right-of-way. He's just asking not to do the frontage improvements. Plus, these are completely different code sections.
okay, all right, thank you.
Just for, I have a question if council's done. Just for grins, how big is the building? The current garage / proposed home?
The current garage is 24 by 40.
You know, you make me do math. 4 times 24.
960 square feet, something like that?
Correct.
Okay, so just about a little, so you're gonna make a house that's just a little under.
Just it's a simple $20,000 interior renovation. Obviously, everything will go through city inspections, codes and everything. We're not changing zoning or anything to that nature with the property.
And it's 1 story?
1 story.
Thank you. And Donna, do you know the lot size off the top of your head?
It's 0.30.
0.30.
0.297.
Close enough. All right, those are my questions. Tom, do you have more?
Yeah, one more question. What would have been if you had chosen to do all the frontage improvements?
So-
What would the cost have been?
That is one of the issues, and I probably would not be able to proceed forward with this property if I have to pay those costs. I have to move, there are 5 Avista power poles have to be moved. There's, we estimated at about over $100,000 due to the fact that the utilities would all have to be moved. It would actually create a dangerous portion of Dakota because you would widen the road out, and what would happen, the neighboring property has a humongous tree. So your road would veer out and you'd be aiming right for the tree. Obviously you have a taper, but the lot's so narrow, it just didn't make sense. And correct me, I'm not against any frontage improvements, new developments or anything like that. They absolutely should happen. This just doesn't make any sense at all for frontage improvements, and the cost is so tremendous with the utility movements that it doesn't make any sort of sense at all. So that's why if we can come to a resolution here and we make something nice, or it goes back to being a shop, and who knows what's going to happen with people in the future.
Any more questions? You want to see the last slide, Donna? Thank you. There we go. All right, so council wish to deliberate on this and then, or make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Do you want me to read out the whole thing there?
Yes.
The special exception in accordance with Hayden City Code 11-3-4, paragraph C, with staff recommended conditions of approval based on testimony received tonight at the city council meeting and the record of the request.
And just for clarification, the staff recommended conditions.
You read them from there?
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay.
Small print.
God, this is tough stuff. Staff recommended conditions should the city council approve of the request are dedication of the required right-of-way in accordance with the typical section of East Dakota Avenue prior to certificate of occupancy of the single-family residence, and grant of roadway, snow storage, stormwater and utility easement in accordance with the typical section of East Dakota Avenue prior to certificate of occupancy of the single-family residence.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, may we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 4B, which is another item that's not hearing, and it is the Bernardo Wills Hayden Canyon Park Design Agreement. There's none of this stuff loading in the board book.
Go ahead, Alan.
Well, yeah, I might need help from Donna, because the history on this is a little bit, probably more down her alley, so she can kick me under the table if I walk off the line here, get out of my lane. As part of the annexation and PUD requirements for the Hayden Canyon subdivision, there's a dedication of parkland to the city as part of that agreement. That parkland has been dedicated to the city. Also, as part of that agreement, the developers of Hayden Canyon, I believe the next phase, that would be a yes,
Yep, that's a yes.
would be required to make those improvements to that parkland. This agreement is to hire Bernardo Wills to do a conceptual design including public input from the community, so that when that design is being built, it actually meets what the city's goal and desires are for that park.
In conformance with the
Park
Parks
plan.
Master Plan and the Hayden Canyon PUD plan.
Okay. Do you want to make any note that this is budgeted from last fiscal year? So it's an approved budget item, and it is coming in at about $24,000 less than the estimated amount,
And
right?
yes, and there is a chance that when we get there, we may want to come back and look at hiring them to do some standards, so that when that design goes forward, we get it built to the standards that we want, but we're not at that point yet.
Okay.
That's just a footnote.
Does council have any questions of staff, or would they like to make a motion?
Yeah, I have a,
Go ahead, Tom.
okay, so I'm recalling it's about $73,000 for the study, right? Okay. Is that the whole thing, or are there any other potential costs that could come out of that?
Well, I think I just mentioned that
Yeah,
one would be that we may want to have them develop some design standards, so as the developer designs it to build it, it's designed to a standard that we're
I
comfortable
did
with.
hear that. Anything else in your anticipation?
I'm not aware of any.
Sandy?
Yeah, along those same lines, just to reiterate, are there extra costs? Does this include the outreaches, the website, and the, what else with advertising that they're planning on doing? Is that included in the cost?
Yeah, if it's in the plan, this plan, yes.
Okay. So, and then what happens if we don't approve it? Then does the park just not go forward, or, I mean, they build it anyways, just, they build it? I'm just gathering information, I'm sorry.
No, that's a great
If it-
question, frankly.
If we did
Yeah,
not
that's
have
a
a
great
plan for the developer,
Then they would
then
pick.
they would have to basically make their own plan. We would have to try and somehow bridge that gap between all the entities to try and see that we're meeting the goals of the community.
Okay.
It would be very difficult.
Well, the only way to get the community input and to make sure that the plan is following your already existing Parks Master Plan is for the city to do the actual
We would have to do this.
design, so that we can
Element.
tell them what they need to build.
Okay. And how long do you think that this would take, this
I think he says
process?
like October 1st.
That was what I
First
remember.
part of October, middle of October, middle
Oh,
of
so it's just a
October.
few months of a process?
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of meetings between now and then to make that happen, so, yeah.
And until, as I recall, there's several meetings of a citizen advisory committee to get together. Until they come up with a design, then the land is left untouched, right?
Yeah, the land is roughly untouched. I mean, it's,
Well, I mean, there are trees there right now,
there's
right?
trees, there's been grading that has gone on in the past. It's not what I would call a natural setting
Okay.
from the past.
Okay.
How's that? It's been disturbed,
And in a construction zone.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for the city staff?
I want to be on that board. That looks like fun.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion? Fire away.
I move to approve the agreement for professional services with Bernardo Wills, Hayden Canyon Parkland.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White? Yes. And Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to city administrator report and calendar review, which I think we're going to get rid of the city administrator
I
report
did provide you a report in writing.
unless it's required. Yes.
That report was handed over to council members. I do have a copy. It just kind of goes through the last few months in the community development department as well as Parks and Rec. And then in my memo, I do summarize some of the projects in the Public Works Department that are currently happening so that council can see. I know we've also done what I would consider a diligent job of making sure that the public's also aware of that through our social media page as well as any other media outlets or outlets. With that, I would stand for any questions.
Any
Highlights?
questions?
Highlights,
Do you want me to go through the highlights?
one or two?
Interestingly enough, one of the highlights being the number of permits we've taken, 77 so far this year with impact fees at around 366,000. And that's the combined impact fees. It's not broken out from the circulation fees and the park fees, so that's combined. And then 164 in non-residential, so I thought that was interesting. A couple projects that are starting up, the Ramsey connector. You'll recall that council approved that agreement, the state and local agreement, and the HURA approved yesterday their contribution portion of 1.7 million. So we will likely provide a check to the state tomorrow for our contribution amount, which means they'll bid the project this fall. So it's a big step in the right direction there. So we are working through Ramsey, the sewer project for phase 1A and 1B. And then as council may recall, we also accepted the bid for phase 2, and that is under construction, or will start
No, it's under.
under construction. I think they're mobilizing, correct?
No, they've got.
Oh, they're there.
They've got the road tore up.
The sidewalk project is looking to
Yesterday.
started yesterday. We're working with some utilities to try to get them out of the way. And on the Parks and Rec side of things that I think are worth noting, let me get there really quick. Susie does a very good job of giving you guys updates on the stuff really upcoming. I think it's important to note that we have the June and July months, are very productive and very busy months when it comes to our events. So we've got the Dog Days of Summer happening June 22nd, the auditions for Hayden's Got Talent June 15th, the Hayden Bike Rodeo June 24th, and the beginning of the Movie in the Park summer kickoff on June 27th. That movie will be Migration, which is, I believe, a Pixar movie. And then in July, we have the concert series starting July 11th through the October 22nd here at McIntyre Park. The Hayden Days starting on July 26th. And then certainly we can move into August, but I could save those updates for a future meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Lisa?
I just wanted to say thank you. I really enjoyed looking through this. I know it was a lot of work for you, but I think it really helped me to connect with what's going on in this.
If there's any feedback I can get, it would be what you appreciate getting, and I can certainly make that happen.
Thank you.
To the calendar review, I will add that the city hall will be closed on June 19th for our federal holiday. Moving on to 5B. Has anyone got any roundtable discussion items, reports, non-action items? Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
before we leave the calendar, can we remind everybody where they should be on June 13th?
June 13th?
14th.
14th.
13th, yeah.
Open house.
Yes, we do have an open house. Is advertised on social media. This is planning and zoning open house to seek feedback on the revised city's vision, goals, and policies. Thank you. In fact, that's this Thursday, if I
This
believe.
Thursday,
Yeah,
4
this
to 7.
Thursday. What time?
From 4 to 7.
4 to 7, thank you. I didn't hear anybody say anything for 5B. I have an announcement to make for council's awareness. One of the 5 strategic domains that I have brought in with my office is communications. It's something I heard when I ran for mayor from everyone. And we've been working, staff and I have been working to improve communications to the public. To include last week, Lisa and I hosted our second event with citizens, and we're hoping that over time will gain a little more steam than it did. Going forward, we're standing up some new web pages. They're not going to come out in the next week or two, but soon. And it's part of our city's communication strategy to improve transparency in the city. And so I'm letting council know about that in case there's any horrible concerns. The first, I shouldn't say horrible concerns, just any issues. The first webpage we're going to stand up as a blog where, for example, we explain property taxes, other things. The communications are going to be done to the best of our ability to paint the whole story and to be truthful and clear with what we're communicating. So I'm gonna let you guys know that's coming soon.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
is that blog gonna be interactive?
We're gonna set up so people can leave comments on it. So if that's what you mean by interactive, that's part of the plan, I believe.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Will the blog have guest posts? Or who's writing it?
No, that'll be the city. The city will be writing it, meaning the staff and I. Good questions. Okay, I guess,
I have.
yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Donna for a report on the Stoddard barn. Find out how that's going.
Stoddard Barn is completed. They did a really awesome job cleaning it out. Most folks didn't realize when all of that interesting debris from the loft filtered down. It went between the floorboards and the ceiling, so the ceiling of the first floor had to come out, and so did the walls. So all of that had been cleaned as well, and all of the bottom area has been cleaned. It's probably the emptiest the barn has been, well, for a very long time, actually. And then the doors on the north end that are barn doors, they looked like I don't know, they had the gaping hole at the top, and our Parks Department fixed those, so those close all the way shut. And so that project is completed.
Thank you.
If you guys want to see pictures, we do have pictures kind of before and after we can share.
I actually took a tour today. It's really, really nice. It's clean. We're trying to figure out what to do with it, if anything. Okay, unless there's anything else, does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Done.